YouTube channel. And before we get started on our video, I want to let everybody know we're doing a prepay for hoodies, button-up shirts, crew neck sweatshirts, crew neck t-shirts, and razorbacks. We're going to have them all on there for a few weeks so you can prepay your orders, and then we can get over to the print shop and get everything made. So this is a design we're running with. Of course, it's going to say Hard Intentions on the top. This was one of my wife's favorite ones that she really wanted to see put on a shirt, and a lot of people kind of expressed an interest in it, so we thought we'd go with that. And then this will be the, let's see, where's that at? This will be where the logo is here. We're going to put this on there, so that's our next shirt, and it's online right now on our website at hardintentions.com. And you can prepay your orders, and the reason we do prepaid orders is we can't go over there and get like 50 button-up shirts, different sizes, and 50 hoodies, and it would just cost way too much. And then if we didn't sell everything, we'd be taking quite a loss. So this way we can just go over and get printed the things that people ordered, along with some extra t-shirts and razorback shirts for women. And the button-up shirts are going to be a charcoal gray. This is one I had done, the Naughty Biker, and you could tell, you could see, we print the logo above the pocket. I've been wearing this one, but that's, we're doing button-up shirts, hoodies, crew neck sweatshirts, and t-shirts, and razorback shirts for everyone that likes the Living Dead girls. So we hope you get on the site and get your order in, and we'll take care of it. Last time we did a prepay, we sold about 25 hoodies, I think, and we got them all out. People seem to like them, and we really appreciate the business a lot. Trust me, we really do. And the support's just amazing. And so that's what we got going on the website, hardintentions.com. Thank you very much for checking it out. Take care and do it hard. By Johnny, and he cut Johnny's jacket. I guess Johnny seen him coming. He moved, he just cut his arm. He cut his jacket with a razor. And Johnny's like, "What the fuck, man?" And so it's on now, right? White Crip and all that shit. So we white dude's got it to black, say, "Hey, these two guys got to go at it heads up, man, or it's on." And so we're outnumbered like fucking 10 or 15 to 1. So the blacks just kind of like laugh, like yeah, but they knew. I mean, we would have had to do something. It would have been a big wreck. And so they let them two guys go heads up. But I remember we were in the cell, and my cell, he was this little dude. I talked about it before. He's a little Christian dude, and he goes, "I'm a Christian, but I got to go out there." I said, "Yeah, that's a good idea," and he went out there and he told us, "What do I do?" And I was with this guy, Rick. He says, "You just stand by us, man. You'll be all right." And so anyway, we got there, and Johnny got him up with this dude, and he fucked him up a little bit. And they took him off to the infirmary, and Johnny went to A yard from there. And the white Crip dude. Now, Johnny had a friend worked in the canteen. He had kind of a fucked up neck. I don't know. He had some kind of disease. His neck was skinny. He had to go to the main infirmary a lot. And, him and Johnny had became friends in just the short time Johnny was there. So he goes over to the infirmary, and he's sitting there, and he's thinking, well, that's that dude Johnny just got into it with. And he took his watch off, and he gave it to this guy, and he goes, "Hold on to that for me," his glasses and shit and his hat. And he got up and he took off on the guy and fucked him up. And the cops, they knew what time it was. So when the guy came back to the yard, they just brought him back to the yard and gave him his shit back and sent him back to work. It was kind of funny. But that's the kind of guys you had there. I mean, there was some stand-up white dudes, that guy, nobody knew he was over there with that dude, so he didn't have to do that. But, he was friends with the guy, so he took off on him. So anyway, after a minute, I go, "Hey, I want to work as a plumber." And I went over to A yard as a plumber. And now A yard is where all the main stuff is. The central laundry, central kitchen, plant operations has their carpenter shop, mechanical maintenance, all that shit. And that's where the main plumbing shop is. And so now I'm a plumber over there. And Louis was a little Mexican dude. He's kind of cool. And he would just load the cart up and send me out to the yard. Say, go ahead, the cart's open. And I had the keys for a while. And after a while, I'd just go out there and the cop would open it, I'd go take care of the buildings. And it kind of blew my mind because I haven't seen, back in the day, that's how it was. You would go out to the yard with your cart, whether you're a plumber or glass guy or electrician, and you go out there and take care of business, right? And so here I am working in this is a new level 4, and so I'm out there working plumbing, pipe chases, fixing guys' shit, and guys are like, man, nobody, the guys that have been working there as plumbers, man, were just fucking off. They weren't taking care of business, so people were glad to see me come, because I knew my shit and I could take care of business. But I got to move from building to building, and guys had asked me to move stuff around. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool, man. Fuck that. I'll let it be known, I don't get loaded. I'm over that shit. And but that's when I started noticing too, man, that white dudes were on a weird trip now. These kids. It wasn't like back in the day. Back in the day, man, if somebody put their hands on a white dude, it was on. I mean, it was a serious deal, and it was on. And white dudes would retaliate hard. So I was sitting by the program office, and there's a fence, and the yard split in half. And I was waiting to go to committee, and it was during time when there's no one on the yard, just a few guys moving around. I seen a bunch of Southsiders jump on this white dude, and I'm like, and there was a guy next to me, and I go, man, how come nobody's helping that dude, And they said, oh, he was in one of these new prison gangs that had just, kind of came up, and he says, oh, he's in that, and it's a green light on them guys. I go, what the fuck you mean it's a green light? The dude's white, And I was like, wow, that's kind of weird. I'm just thinking, man, that shit's weird, because, back in the day, it didn't make a fuck, man. If a white dude got jumped on, you helped him. And so, anyway, I'm working as a plumber, and then, white dudes, I just start noticing, man, everything's about fucking drugs, drugs. And back in the day, there were drugs, but there was also lifting weights, playing sports, going to hobby, guys getting education, college, GED, all that shit. It was just industry. Everything was going on, man. Drugs were not the predominant thing, They were part of it, but it wasn't it wasn't the thing, And now it is. I'm starting to realize, man, all these dudes give a fuck about is drugs. That's all they care about. And so everything else falls to the wayside, So I got the job as a plumber, and I'm working, and I'm going to Catholic church, there, and started getting into that. And the priest there was from Ireland, Father White. And he keeps telling me, hey, we need a place where guys that want to program can program. We need a program yard. And I just laughed at him. I go, that ain't happening around here, And but he would say, we need an honors yard, man. We need an honors yard. I said, all right, Father White, So that's when, I'm into my artwork and all that kind of stuff. And they had a chick that used to come in and teach art class. She was kind of weird. Father White knew her. And the lady that ran the arts and corrections program was on vacation. So this artist they hired to come in and teach art class, she was coming in pretty regular. And so she was kind of weird, man. And she had a thing for younger Hispanic dudes, And she'd get him in there, and I don't know what the fucking deal was, but this black dude worked in there, and evidently he saw shit, that he thought, he could have that. And the alarm went off one day, and I guess he popped his stuff out on her, and she hit her buzzer. But her name was Jill. She was a weird chick. So the next day, Father White tells me, hey, man, how'd you like to work in that arts and corrections? I'm like, sure. and things weren't going too good with the plumbing. By now they had hired some new guy, older dude. Yeah, he was cool, but he was an older cat, man. He was weird. And so I got a job change to work in arts and corrections. And what's happening now is that I was the only guy allowed in there. And so a couple times a quarter, so in 3 month time period, like twice, they would use the budget to hire an instructor to come in and teach art class. And this guy Ray used to come in there and teach art class. He's an older Chicano dude. He was a good artist, man. And so I'm working in there, and then my job was to help him. And then during the week, when he wasn't there, he came in on the weekends, right? He would do like 5 weekends in a row. But during the week, I was the only guy allowed in this art studio. And what it is, it's a big classroom in the education area. And man, they had buckets of paint, they had quarts of India ink, stacks of badass paper, pencils. They had everything in there. I mean, everything. They had mat board. They had a way to make prints. They had a lot of shit, but I was the only guy allowed in there. And I thought, man, this is the way out. So by now, I'm done tattooing. So I got the ink and I just kind of gave it away to guys. I did some drawings with it and I would paint with the ink. And so I gave all that shit away. And what was going on here is that, you got a lot of guys in prison. They want to do artwork. They want to draw. They want to do this and that and the other. So all the guys that had been working there prior to me were selling art supplies in the yard. But what the job is you're supposed to help teach art class, and all them art supplies are for the art class. And then also my job is to do artwork for the program. And then the artwork gets donated to the Children's Center of Antelope Valley, and they sell it once a year and have a little auction. And the money goes to the Children's Center of Antelope Valley to help abused children and their moms. And so that's the deal. But these guys weren't doing that. There was a couple bullshit ass paintings in there, and that was it. So I start painting, and then by now my boss is off vacation. She sees that I got the job, and she comes in there, talks to me, and she goes, "Hey, our budget's coming up." And I go, "All right, how much money we got?" She tells me, "Oh, we got $1,800, something like that. 1,500, 1,800. I think 1,500." And so I spend that, and I tell her, I got some shit, but I didn't really get everything I want, or need. But so I work in there, and paintings are stacking up. I'm doing a bunch of paintings, but I'm also, guys that go through the art class, I'll give them a little bit of paint, a couple brushes and shit to take to their house, because Lancaster, man, they would lock that pen down all the time. And I had 8-ounce bottles. I'd take 8-ounce bottles of all the colors to my cell of acrylics. And I had brushes and shit in my cell. And because they were slammed all the time. And I want to do artwork, for the shop and for myself. And so I had stacked up paint in my cell and brushes and all that. And I mean, like, they would find a cell phone on the minimum yard and search the whole prison, or they'd find a cell phone on D yard and they'd search the whole prison. So the prison would be locked down for a month, 2 months while they search. It was bullshit. And then they started taking all our TVs over to R&R in a flatbed truck and X-raying them. And that's when they started going to the clear TVs and a clear radio. So the plastic on the TVs is clear so you can see inside it. Because guys used to hide knives in their fucking TVs and shit, whatever. But, and then the TVs would fall off the truck and they'd give them a different TV. And it's like, dude, I had a stereo TV. You're going to give me some little bullshit clear TV now, It sucked. So anyway, I started doing that, and then my boss comes in and she goes, "Hey, we're going to have this art sale, And so we have the first art sale while I'm there. And we had it at the prison, and she comes in and she goes, man, she's all excited. She's like, "Oh, wow, we made $5,000. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Man, I had put a good 70 paintings out there, that I did, and mostly all my work. And she goes, "We've never made $2,000. And she's like all excited telling me this. And I go, all right, cool. She said, we made $5,000. She just couldn't get over it, and we got a lot of kudos for it. And, and it was nice, it was kind of cool. So then she had a newspaper crew from the Antelope Valley Press came in, did a little article on me and the shop and the program, and then she goes, we got our budget. Now our budget's coming up again for the next year. I go, so how much we got in the budget this year? And she goes, we got $8,000. I want you to spend it all. So see, now I'm starting to develop some trust, and I'm like, all right, cool, that's cool. So I ordered water miscible oil paints, all, just, and buckets and gallon buckets of acrylic paints, and uh, the art teacher's coming in there, Ray, and he was a pretty cool dude, and he's a good instructor. The values painting that I did on YouTube, he taught me how to teach that, how to teach guys how to do their values, and I remember one time I was in there doing my own artwork with my shit, when I came in there, and I was painting like a river with some trees and all that, and he would look, and so he's teaching art class, but he would come over and help me, and he took my paintbrush, man, and he starts, painting out stuff that I thought looked cool, and he's painting it out, and like, I'm like, man, I'm thinking, what the fuck's this guy doing? He's fucking my painting up, and he's telling me, use this, use that. That's where I used to get into, I used to use like white. It's just a habit guys do in there. They use white to blend things out. And he told me, don't use white. Just use white when you absolutely have to. He got me into just using pure color, so he taught me quite a bit about art, and I was glad for that. So anyway, I worked in that program for about 5 years, and so things are kind of cool. Like I said, everything's about drugs there, and I remember this one dude, George. He used to work out with this Southsider who's PC'd up now, but he worked out with this guy all the time. They were both from Terminal Island area, and I'm like, yeah, all right. He's a dope fiend. He's got life without. And so, we ended up, having a riot on the yard, Now, I'm in the art room all the time. I don't really pay attention to what these guys are up to because they're all fucking dope heads, So, I look out the window, man, and the alarm goes off, and I see white dude. Mind you, I'm in education. There's a fence between me and the yard, and there's a riot going on in the fucking yard. And so we had a chalkboard in there that we got rid of, but we had a big long piece of wood about this square was where you put the chalk in the bottom of the board. So white dudes are getting jumped on the yard by Southsiders. So I got that big piece of wood, and it's about 8 feet long. And them dudes try to come in there. I said, man, get the fuck up out of here, And they didn't come in there. But, I was locked in my spot. Couldn't get out. I was pissed off, man. But I noticed dudes running, and dudes peeing. And I was like, yeah, all right. So they have the riot, and it was 120 to 11. And it was pretty nasty. And so I go, fuck, So when they start taking us back to the building, I got all the shit, because I know we're going to be slammed for a while. I loaded up my little bag I used to take back and forth to work every morning. I loaded it up with paint and different shit I figured I'd need for this lockdown and took it over there. And, we were slammed for quite a while on that. And that's when I did the food strike. And, like I said, I knew about Bobby Sands and all them guys in Ireland. I talked to some cats when I first came in about that kind of shit, and it always stood out in my mind. And I'm telling you, the situation at Lancaster, I had a good job in arts and corrections, and I was developing a little bit of respect with my boss and Father White and some of the staff, but overall, that place was a fucking dump. And they kept us locked down all the fucking time. And I mean all the time. And that's the yard that I was on where this dude was the head of the union, man. And when I was on C Yard, he spit on them black dudes that came from the Bay. And them dudes went in their cell, packed their property, and came out and jumped on the staff over that dude. That dude got busted in the carpenter shop making knives out of wood to try to get rid of the carpenter shop. That was their deal. They didn't like us having nothing there. Um, so, I mean, we were slammed all the time, man. The food was terrible. There was just nothing going on. And mind you, Father White kept pushing to get this honor yard thing going. And so I'm like, man, fuck this. After a couple of weeks of lockdown, I told my cellie, look, man, I'm going on a fucking hunger strike. And he goes, all right, So I packed all my fucking property because I knew they were going to probably take me away. And I mean, like one of the things they do, like I had a cardboard tube, like a mailing tube. What it is a fabric comes rolled up on this big tube, right? And I cut a piece off and I cap the ends. And I used to put my paintbrushes in there. And, they searched the building. Also had a steak cup. This guy carved a skull into this steak cup, like 3D, right? And they do a search one time, for the cell phone search or the bullet search, or it's always some bullshit, And they took my cup. And they took the cardboard tube that my fucking brushes were in. They said, you're not allowed to have any cardboard. I'm like, right? I mean, stuff like that, it doesn't seem like a whole lot to people out in the world, but that shit means something in there. And this dude took that cup that guy made for me. I was pissed off, and I was handcuffed behind my back. I go, hey, you fucking punk, And, he's just a little skinny punk. And when I kind of lunged at him, he jumped back all scared, even though I'm handcuffed behind my back, It was really starting to irritate me, man. I had enough, I've been down about 20 years, and I was just like, man, fuck this, I'm over it. And anyway, so I decided to go on this food strike, and my thing was, look, we need better food. We need to quit getting locked down all the time. We need to have yard. We need to have more shit, more privileges, Even though it's a level 4 yard, I mean, I've been in level 4 prisons, like Corcoran, man, where they had violence going on all the time there, and they didn't slam it all the time. They would slam the race involved and open up the program, But, so Father White comes by after a couple of days, and he's all, what's going on? He's making his rounds. Like, yeah, I'm on a fucking hunger strike. Fuck this, And he's like, man, because he's from Ireland. And anyway, next thing you know, the cop would come to the door with the food. Like at breakfast, they give you a lunch and a breakfast tray. And it'd say 1 tray, 1 lunch. Dinner, 1 tray. So after a few days, this sergeant comes by and he's like, what's going on? I go, I'm on strike. I'm on food strike. Fuck you. And he's like, man, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. I said, hey, fuck you, man. I go, you're a fucking cop with an extra stripe on your sleeve. Get the fuck off my door. And so then they come by and they go, hey, you got to go to medical. So I go over to medical. They want to interview me, make sure that I'm not a nutcase or something. And I tell them, look, I'm tired of living like a fucking dog. That's the bottom line. And so they took me over to the infirmary, And mind you, I had some other guys like, yeah, if you do this, we'll get down with you and all that shit. Not one of them even thought about it. Once I started doing it, none of them did it. So, that really kind of pissed me off. And plus, before they took me over to the infirmary, they were taking us out for showers. And I told some of these younger cats, right, white dudes, and I'm like, hey, if you guys want to stop this riot shit, let me know. And they're like, yeah, fuck. Like, you want to stop getting jumped on by these dudes all the time? And they go, yeah. I go, all right, look, when we come out, right, everybody suit up, go back to normal, act like everything's cool for a few weeks, and then on a certain day at a certain time, white dudes take off on these guys, man, and we gotta try to kill about 10 of them. Behind the wall at work, PIA, the kitchen, education, and the day rooms on the yard, a certain day, a certain time, we'll just take off on them. stab the fuck out of them, try to kill some of them. I go, that's the only way it's going to stop. And, and they're all, yeah, yeah, you know. This is through the door and they're in shower time. So anyway, I go off to the infirmary after that, you know, for this food strike. I'm over there, you know, I got a rosary and my book, you know, my Bible, and I'm doing my thing. And I was just drinking water, man. And I went 30 days. And they're like, yeah, man, we'll send you to a better prison. We'll send you back to DVI. We'll do this, we'll that, you know. And I'm thinking, all right. But in the meantime, you know, Father White's coming over there and he's like, hey, man, you're holding up pretty good. He goes, I've seen guys do this before and you're actually doing pretty good. But, you know, man, I had the warden over there tell me, man, just, you got to stop this. You know, you're going to die. And I go, I don't give a fuck. I got nothing to live for. I'm never getting out of prison. And I'll be damned if I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison living like a fucking dog, you know. So, you know, it starts off with like sergeants and lieutenants, and then you got the program administrators and captains, and then associate wardens are coming. Then all of a sudden the warden, you know. So I was like, fuck, you know, this is serious shit. But I also started to realize, you know, that if I went too much longer, it would take a toll on my body, and they started promising me all kinds of shit. And so I go, all right, cool, I'll eat, you know. I'll go back to the yard. I'm going to stop this. Because no one else was down with it, with me, you know. So I go back to the yard, and about a week later, they start opening up the yard. Now I'm living with my little homeboy, Bobby, and, you know, he's like, hey, Smiley, you know, what's it going to be like? And I said, it'll be all right, you know. So I go out the yard, and when they let the white dudes out the yard, I asked them dudes, I go, hey, man, so you guys ready? You know, you guys got knives or whatnot? And they go, oh, man, you know, a lot of us owed money. You know, we kind of had that coming. And I go, how the fuck do we have that coming, man? You know, I don't use drugs. I don't owe them dudes any money. That was their thing, that they owed them money and they weren't paying their debts, so they had that coming. I was like, pfft. I go, next time this shit happens, you guys are on your own. Fuck you, motherfucking cowards, you know? I was kind of pissed off about that. And so we went about 3 months, man, and the shit happened again. And this time it was over some dude. You know, he was a white. He was in a white gang from the streets, and so evidently he'd been fat mouthing these dudes, and they tried to jump on him on another yard. Long story short, 6 of them ran up in the cell on him. He beat them all down. So now here he is on our yard, and I didn't know any of this shit. So I come out at work and I go, what's going on, man? And they go, oh, they tried to stab this dude. I go, so what's up? And you know, they tried to move on him. He beat the piece out of their hand, and you know, so there's like 3 or 4 of these cats. I go, so it's on. They go, nah, man, them dudes are, you know, they're on their own because of the gang that they're a part of. They're on their own. And I go, hey, look, man, them dudes are white, and you know, if they fight, I'm fighting with them. And I go, how can you just say them dudes are on their own, regardless of their affiliation? You know, they're white. And so everybody goes over the building areas, you know, and they start doing this yard recall. And I remember this dude, George. It's his fucking name. And San Pedro, that's where he's from. So, and, you know, they start doing yard recall with building 2. And this guy works out with this Southsider every fucking day because he's a dope guy. He's the boss of the yard. He thinks he's in with this cat, right? And, you know, it's on. It's going to jump off. So this guy, they call yard recall, and this guy starts going in the building. So I start calling his name, hey, George. Hey, George. And he turns around and I go, and he just gives me a look like, you know, he's trying to slide in the fucking building. This dude's got life without. He's through. So, anyway, we had a little riot. I go over to the building. There's a whole wall of these dudes facing us. I go, fuck. Yeah, and then here they come. You know, they rush us. I had like 13 dudes jump on me, man. And I just kind of, you know, I hit him in the face, hit him in the face, hit him in the face. You just got to keep moving, you know. I was just glad they didn't have knives. And so I kind of fought my way around that. Went over, helped this guy Steve, who was dealing with two guys, and you know, yard went down. The riots only last a short time. They seem like forever. And so that's when I went in. I think I told the story. You know, I went in and they asked me if I had any wounds. You know, I had a big lump in the back of my head where I got hit with a stick or a cane. And he tells me, you know, go ahead and get naked. And he's doing paperwork, this MTA, and he's looking down. He's not looking at me. So I got butt naked, and I'm standing there with my hands on my hips, and you know, he looks up and he's, oh fuck, man, you know, you got any wounds? Or I said, no. So I go up to my house, you know, and I'm like, here we go again. You know, there's another 3 or 4 month lockdown, you know. And the deal with the lockdowns and them kind of situations is you could get packages from home. So I'd get a package. It'd have like 5 jars of coffee, you know, Copenhagen, because I still use Copenhagen at the time. And, you know, some food. And then I get a package sent to somebody else with more coffee and food, more coffee. So I get like 2, 3, 4 packages and load up on food. So here we are slammed, you know, and then same shit, you know, we come out. But I remember coming out, man, and you know, I went back to work and arts and corrections, and there was this dude George sitting at a fucking table, and he knew some guys I knew, you know, and he's sitting there, goes, hey, what's up, you know, hey, what's up, kept telling me what's up, and I'd shine him on. You know, and if you shine somebody on in a prison, especially a level 4 prison, that's pretty serious. It means like, hey, you know, fuck you, right? So finally he goes, hey man, he's sitting there with his homeboy, and his name was Sleepy. And I go, hey man, he goes, what's up? And I go, oh, nothing, I'm just doing my thing. He goes, man, something's up, man. You know, we talk, and I know these guys and your friends, this, that, and the other. And he goes, you know, what's up, man? I can take it, man. You know, I go, oh, you can take it? And mind you, he's sitting there with his buddies, you know, and I go, oh, you can take it? And he goes, yeah. I go, what's up, man? Is you're a fucking coward, motherfucker. I go, you ran in the fucking building and left us out here on the yard to hang out to dry. I go, fuck, I had 13 dudes jump on me, you fucking punk. I go, you do burpees with these guys every day. Every day you're out here working out with these dudes, and you knew this shit was going to go down. All you had to do was talk to them. You could have squashed this shit, but you're a fucking coward, man. And he goes, oh, like that? I go, yeah, like that, motherfucker. You know? So, yeah. I mean, that shit pissed me off. And there were some other cats that were new to the yard that pissed on themselves. And, you know, there was a cat there I knew, man, back in the early 80s, but he was in Tracy back in the day. And, he came out after that first riot and stabbed the dude up pretty good for running in that riot. He goes, I'm going to show these fucking dope fiends how it's done. And he went up to this dude that he left this old man hang out to dry, took off running. And old Peacock went up and stabbed him like 10 or 15 times in the stomach and chest from the front. So I don't know where the hell he's at now. But anyways, after that, second riot now, they decided to make an honor yard on that yard. And that was Father White's doing. He's the one that had all the paperwork on that. And because they had all the main shit. They had the central kitchen, you know, the central maintenance, the laundry, all that stuff. So they were tired of having it shut down all the time. So they go, you know, we're going to make an honor yard here. And they did. So, and what the honor yard was you had to sign a chrono saying that you would agree to random drug testing. And back then they couldn't just come and randomly drug test you. Now they can. Now they do. Pretty regular. I got tested, you know, a couple times before I left. In a 2-year time period, I got tested like 3 or 4 times. So random is random. Anyway, you had to sign a paper saying you'd agree to random piss testing. And you couldn't be an active prison gang member. A couple of minor things. But the main thing that that we stressed when they were doing this was this cannot be an S&Y dumping ground for PCs. This has to be general population inmates who want a program. And that's what it was. And, I had my job in arts and corrections now for like a year and a half, so I wasn't leaving. I wasn't going to fuck that off, I'm an artist, and that's my deal. That's like being in, hog heaven, man, for me. That was my escape. I had a stereo in there and music and all that shit. So they started the honor yard, and they passed them chronos out to everybody in that prison. And if people signed them, they were eligible to come over, And you had to have like a year clean or some shit. Anyway, I remember coming out of work one day, and there was a bunch of carts lined up. All these dudes that were all dope fiend motherfuckers were leaving the yard, and all these other guys are coming in with their carts, So as guys are going out, guys are coming in, and they started the honor yard. And I'm going to tell you, the biggest resistance to that was staff. Staff hated it because they kept, you know what? And after they started the honor yard, they kept locking us down for stupid shit. The rest of the prison got slammed. We got slammed right with it. But guys were smart. They'd say, hey, look, man, don't act stupid. That's what they want, And sometimes they would just slam our yard because they were trying to get reaction out of guys, and wasn't happening. Now, some of the things I liked on that yard was it was kind of like old school because, like I said, when Tracy, they had softball league with every race playing sports against every race, So we had softball shit going on. We had soccer going on. That's where they had a white soccer team, man, the Godzillas. It was cool. So there was sports going on. Arts and corrections, where I worked, was going on. We had classes just all the time. I made a lot of instructional videos on how to do artwork. So it was pretty good, man. I liked it. It was cool. I got to do my artwork. I ended up working in that art room for almost 5 years. And it was kind of a relief to go from a stressful environment to, just a regular, it was kind of like just a regular prison yard where guys minded their own shit, And every once in a while there'd be a fight or something, but overall it was, the stress level dropped a few notches, That's when they had, and right when we first started it, they had a riot on B Yard, and I think that was a Mexican guy who's a Pyru, and it was between the Southsiders and the blacks, man. It was ugly. It was on national news. They had helicopters hovering around the prison. It was bad. So you went from that type of environment to just where you could do your own fucking time and not be fucked with, And mind you, I'm not using dope. I'm not selling dope. I'm just doing art. That's my thing. So anyway, I got kind of burned out on it. And I remember Donovan being a pretty good prison. Some of my classification score went down from level 4 to level 3. I requested to go back to Donovan, and I got transferred back to Donovan. And Donovan had changed it was like night and day, From the time I had been there before to there, it was a big difference, man. But yeah, Lancaster, I mean, they did write-ups on my artwork and the program in the LA Times, and it was just, it was a good deal. I got to paint there for 5 years on their dime. And you know what? They used all the art supplies I stocked up in that program. Before I left, they cut the budget for that program. And they were letting me teach art class. I mean, it was just a high level of trust towards me and the program that I was running. But they used those supplies for years after I left. I stacked up so much, And it was cool, man. There was a lot of interaction in the art room between other races. Like I had whites, blacks, Mexicans, everybody in there doing artwork. And I could have up to 15 guys at a time in there teaching them art or letting them practice skills that they learned in the program. I was in there running it, man, and it was cool. It was real cool. Yeah, I liked it a lot. So Anyways, I went back to Donovan. No art, no hobby. It was just they turned Donovan into a shithole, and that's where I'll pick up next. Uh, Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it very much. You know, I try to keep this shit as real as possible, and there's a lot of stuff I won't talk about, but there's a lot of stuff I will, so stay tuned. And please go check out hardintentions.com, especially for our button ups and hoodies right now we got going on. Take care of yourself. Please be safe. I know another person that passed away from this coronavirus. My old boss and Donovan's niece died from it, and now her brother died from it. So it's a sad deal. Please take care of yourselves and be safe. I don't want to lose any of you to this shit, you know. Hopefully it'll be over soon. Be safe. Do it hard. Thank you.